Wes Goldberg, cold open, I guess, kind of statement of fact today. It's not so much a question. I just want to say it really made me happy that Greg Popovich is out in the public light and goofing around and wearing an El Jefe t-shirt. And, like, we got to, like, see Greg Popovich just kind of being Greg Popovich as they announce this official coaching transition change. I don't, what comes next for the Spurs really is more about, like, Wembanyama and the roster construction, all of that, but very just nice to see Greg Popovich kicking and being kind of a dick and fucking with people again, which is really how you know he seems to be doing better.
Yeah, there's really no cynical way to view this. He's back. He's back in the building. He's been elevated to basketball or president of basketball operations. Interim coach becomes the head coach. So you've got all the continuity there between Pop, R.C. Buford, Tim Duncan being there also, and Manu Ginobili being there during the announcement. And Greg Popovich's comments was really great. So awesome for Popovich. This is also just what great organizations do. And Popovich obviously deserves all of it. And yeah, it was really scary when you keep hearing the word stroke. It's so scary because we probably all have people in our lives who have dealt with something like that. But for Popovich to be out there and back in public, it's really great. And I don't think anybody was quite ready to not have Greg Popovich in their life, especially a Greg Popovich who could still screw around with people and do all the Greg Popovich things that we've gotten accustomed to. So, yeah, awesome. Just absolutely awesome.
And look, he's probably not going to be as president anymore. I think, I'm certainly he would say this, and I think he kind of did, that this is not how he would have wanted his coaching career to end.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's like it's kind of a reminder that like your basketball life is and like just like regular life is uncontrollable. Like how it's gonna go to some degree is kind of up to fate. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like it's kind of a reminder that you just kind of have to take everything for what it is. I mean, like I think when I was thinking about like basketball mortality with him and Dame a little bit, just in the sense that like things just will end before you really expect them to end, and you kind of just got to savor like what is in front of you. I think more than we do with players and teams even do sometimes. Like sometimes you just got to like either go for it, or also just like reminder of how good you actually have it, even though you're chasing something great.
Well said.
All right, on today's show, Nuggets Thunder is on deck. Thin margins for Denver. Cavs looking a little dicey. We'll get into that. Spoiler, I was wrong about 5. That's not going 5. Warriors, Wolves, and Will Hardy got extended. Just got some questions, Utah Jazz, coming up today on the Just Basketball Show. Let's go.
Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
What is up, everyone? Chris Manning, Wes Goldberg here on the Just Basketball Show, twice weekly show covering all things hoops. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, review on your podcast platform of choice. And Wes, we're as always powered by BetMGM.
Yep. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code JustBasketball, and you'll get up to $1,500 in a first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. Sign up using the code JustBasketball. Deposit at least $10. Place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that bet loses, just like Chris's 5 games for the Cavs bet. Just make sure to use the bonus code JustBasketball when you sign up. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older to wager. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's just start there. Let's just humble me first, Wes. Let's just cook me a little bit. I deserve it. Honestly, I got the hubris was real. And like Icarus, I got too close to the sun on feeling good about the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2 things that I think would really concern me right now if I'm the Cavs. Number one is obviously I think Darius Garland's importance on this series. Saw that in game 1, how vital he is going to be. Even if they really lean on Ty Jerome in spots, I think just knowing that Garland is at obviously a whole other level above that. And particularly I think his pull-up shooting as like a counter to some of what Indiana did defensively and the pressure they put on the spaces they were kind of maybe leaving open on when you swing. I think that was a big thing. The other thing is these injuries to Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter. And the way Kenny Atkinson was talking about it from what I read, made it just seem like those guys might not play in game 2. And I think game 2 is must win for the Cavs. Game 2 is like, you got to win this game or you might not. I don't think you're winning the series if you go down 0-2 at home. Spoiler alert. Game 2 is a huge, huge deal. Game 1 was incredible. A lot of little things they can get into. Maybe my favorite single game of the playoffs so far in terms of its intensity, the crowd, all of that. But there's a lot about that the Pacers should feel great about. And a lot I think the Cavs should be concerned about, even if they could look at the 3-point discrepancy and say, oh, there's a math story here where we probably should be fine. But I think Cleveland has a lot of reasons to be concerned after game 1. No question.
Yeah, so the thing you don't want to do if you're Cleveland is overreact too much, but you have to react to this, especially considering the injury report and where it stands. And look, let's say Darius Garland does play. What does he look like? I mean, these toe injuries are brutal, man. I mean, you can't plant the same way. You can't move the same way. For a guy who's already a liability defensively, it's only going to be worse if he can't move laterally the way that he's accustomed to moving. So you've got that. You mentioned the other injuries. All of this is a problem. There's a number of different ways that the Cavs could take this. The first thing that they have to wonder is, all right, this was still a pretty close game for the meteor parts of regulation here. And you shot whatever, 20-something percent, 23% from 3. They shot 53% from 3. That's probably why Indiana won game 1, despite all the stuff that we're talking about here. But then you have to wonder, okay, what's the process look like? Well, Sam Merrill was getting switched onto Pascal Siakam and things like that, and that wasn't helpful. And Haliburton was kind of having his way for large swaths of this game where he was able to just get to the rim and spray out the shooters. It felt like they were dictating tempo and getting into their first action really quick without much interference from Cleveland. Was this just a matter of the Cavs, to your point, Chris, kind of believing their shit didn't stink and just said, well, look what we just did to the Miami Heat. We should have no problem against the Indiana Pacers, even though the Pacers are a legitimately good NBA team, and the Heat finished the regular season the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference. So that's probably part of it, was just the lack of preparation. But to me, if I'm Kenny Atkinson, I'm dealing with, okay, A, who do I have available, and then what do I do with my rotations after that? But B, is this just a matter of us playing better and locking in? And if we just do that, do we think we can win this game at home after Indiana knows that they pretty much already accomplished the mission with getting game 1? And then, yes, they stole home court advantage, but if we just take care of business in game 2 and get a little bit more of a sample size of what the series is really going to look like, then we can make some maybe more X's and O's and schematic adjustments going into the series in Indiana. But for now, I think I wouldn't overreact if I'm Cleveland. It would just be a matter of, hey guys, they kind of knocked us back on our heels. We never really recovered outside of some Donovan Mitchell spurts. Let's make sure we're engaged and mentally ready for game 2. Because to your point, I agree. This is a can't lose game.
The Mobley injury, I think, maybe the Garland thing is the biggest deal, and it's a toe injury. They've talked about it being a 1 to 2 week thing. You'd shut it down and let him recover. It's like, and this is really the thing with injuries in the playoffs. Once they happen, you're almost consistently playing this game of like chicken, of how hurt you can play a guy and how much they can go.
Right.
When I if I was looking at 2 adjustments independent of Garland for Cleveland, I think using Sam Merrill was like, if he's going to play 20 minutes, use him as an actual weapon and like threaten the Pacers with him a little bit more aggressively. I think that was something I would just maybe do. The other thing was Mobley, I think could dominate a game in this series and totally tilt the other way. We are finally seeing a version of him, I think, Wes, that can be really assertive on the inside and go for it and fight through traffic. I think he learned this towards the end of that Boston series last year that they lost, but that was almost like a good Callus series for him. Mm-hmm. The Cavs can absolutely, I think, dominate the paint in the series. I think we saw that in this game even for large stretches. Mobley is going to be the guy to do it. If he's out, yes, you can do stuff with Jared Allen. It won't be as dynamic. It's much more you need to throw him a lob or get him in a position to do one dribble, go up, and dunk. Mobley offers much more of like a hub kind of structure that you cannot get really out of Jared Allen. It's also, your Mitchell and Strus and Merrill as your playmakers is fine, but like Garland's like the A-plus playmaker on this team. If they can't go, and then you also don't have Hunter, who's a huge part of your team, played more than Merrill, plays as much as Allen does, is like functionally like your fifth starter when you're closing guys. Hey, like, are you like? And I don't think they can play Okoro as much as they did in this game. He was really rough in this one. Are you trying Javonte Green? Are you trying Jalen Tyson? You're throwing.
Well, I would shorten the rotation. I mean, at this point,
you're going to 7 guys. Like, is it 7 guys for game 2? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Donovan Mitchell played 30, just a hair under 34 minutes. Jared Allen played 30. Mobley played a hair under 36. Strus played 32. Jerome played 30. Hunter played 30. Like, there's room for, frankly, both of these teams to just play their starters more minutes. Halliburton only played 36 minutes, and then played 37. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, both teams should be like Thomas Bryant don't need to play. Jarris Walker
right.
Need to play. It's like there's fat on both these teams. To your point.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see which coach shortens the rotation first, because that could probably buy you an advantage for a half, perhaps. Until, like, if you're the coach that comes out in game 2 or game 3 with the 7-man rotation in the first half, and the other coach can adjust in the second half to what your rotations are. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is a Sam Merrill series. He was He was really good against Miami in that first round. This is the Pacers are a different cat, man. Like, they showed in game 1, they'll attack them. They're not afraid to do it. Miami didn't really do that. And they've got the bodies and the personnel to do it. Like, I know Kenny Atkinson prefers to go with shooting over size when he's forced to make those kind of rotation decisions. And it's why Dean Wade is sort of like out of the rotation sometimes. And Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill just continue to find minutes. But does he go Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus at the 2, and then play somebody like Hunter or Dean Wade in the starting lineup, and then just have Strus replace Garland until Garland's available? Like, that might be and then obviously the 2 bigs. Like, that might be the move. And then at that point, you just, okay, it's Ty Jerome and it's DeAndre Hunter off the bench, and those are our 7 guys.
And that's assuming Hunter is healthy to go. Like, and if he's not,
so he popped the finger back in place. So as far as I can tell, he'll be fine.
It was just the way Atkinson talked about it made me skeptical.
Okay,
it was just the way that he was like, kind of was.
I think he was more trying to get the officials to take notice because he was complaining that they didn't get calls on him.
Gonna be honest, I thought that Mathurin play should have been a foul, and I didn't understand why it wasn't a foul. If I'm being entire, like, I went back and watched it today. I did not. I think if you're using a guy, it's like shoulder to get yourself up in the air to block a shot, I kind of think that's probably a foul. No.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. I'm so annoyed with coaches complaining about fouls when their players are injured.
Yes.
Like, that should have been called a foul. It's like, all right, you took 3 more free throw attempts than Indiana in this game. You didn't lose because of the free throw disparity. Your player got hurt. Like, that's the important part. Who cares if it's a foul after the point?
It's a good point.
Who cares? Why are we relitigating this? Your player's injured. That's the priority here.
Yeah, and I wonder too, the thing with Cleveland, and maybe their quote unquote their shit not sinking. This is one of the first times all year I think they've I like, if I'm using my friends that are diehards and like looking at myself as well, I'm thinking about like the team through that lens. This is like the first time all year I think any of them have been nervous or frustrated by this team. And this might be like the first time all year the Cavs themselves, and this is all credit to the Pacers, have like really been decked in the face aside from when they've played Boston. You know, it's like they beat OKC in one of the best regular season games this year and like went toe to toe with them. They played Boston very close, lost more often than they won, but like played Boston really, really close. This is like and it's the playoffs. So this is how this works, Wes. Obviously, you know this, but this might be like the biggest haymaker the Cavs has taken all year. Like, and there's something probably to how they reacted in game 1, just I think based on the adversity part of it.
No question. I mean, look, the Pacers are awesome. And we got on here and I told you, like, I'm not ruling the Pacers out in this series. I feel like we were just continually overlooking how good this Indiana team is and how strong of identity they have. And that was so apparent in game 1. I think the pace was okay for Cleveland. I don't think that the game was played too fast for them. I just think that they weren't used to Indiana getting into their actions after 5, 6, 7 seconds of the shot clock. And just being like, oh wow, oh they're already like halfway through their pick and roll set. They've already set 2 screens, and we're just sort of getting into our half court set here. And I think that's the thing with Indiana is they almost always kind of start games that way with that first jab. And like the Pacers probably lead the league in starting with like a 7-2 lead. Like it feels like they're always starting that way, and then you can kind of get back into the game, obviously. But yeah, look, in terms of the the confidence factor, I get it. Like this is why the playoffs are the playoffs. This is why you got to play the games, right? You get this one haymaker, next thing you know, you've lost home court advantage and you're down 1-0 to a good Pacers team, and now all the Pacers have to do now is go 500 over the next 6 games against a team dealing with injuries to 3 of their 5 best players. That's a scary place for Cavs fans to be looking at, and it's a pretty interesting place for the Pacers to be.
Series betting as of right now. Series Cavs are still the favorite. They're at -220. Pacers at +180, but that has shifted more towards Indiana since the initial line. The Cavs were well above that. That's from our friends at BetMGM. Before we move on from this to us, I do think just to be like entirely properly praising the Pacers and specifically Tyrese Haliburton, holy fuck, he was good. Holy fuck, Tyrese Haliburton. He did like the superstar command the game thing as good as you possibly could have needed him to do it. And like that's kind of to me the biggest reason why they won that game is because he commanded this game and was the shot making for him was incredibly on point, especially late.
Yeah, so without Garland, or even with a hobbled Garland, these teams are a lot more even, and in terms of just talent and personnel.
Yeah.
And then it sort of becomes a battle of Haliburton versus Donovan Mitchell. Not to take this down to the simplest thing, but it kind of feels like that could be the series. And Donovan Mitchell was awesome in game 1. Haliburton was better. And specifically the thing with Haliburton that really stood out to me, the offensive stuff that you mentioned, yes, obviously. His defense was so much better in game 1 than it has been in the regular season, frankly. And if that's going to be the case, because Haliburton is usually one of these guys where you say, all right, drag him into the pick and roll, we're hunting him. And as we know, and as I know very well, the Cavs love to pick on somebody. They love to name a target and go at him. And Haliburton, when he tries, is a lot better than Tyler Hero defensively.
Yeah,
it's just it's an effort thing with him. And in the regular season, just frankly was not there. It was a little disappointing. But Haliburton has always had the skills, the tools, the smarts, the everything to be at least an above average defender. Yeah. And if he's defending like that, then all of a sudden all that stuff that Cleveland wants to get to in terms of let's have our small pick and roll action, get everything switched. Now we've got Donovan Mitchell on Haliburton. Now we've got Garland if he's healthy on Haliburton, whatever. Heck, we can get Evan Mobley on Haliburton. Like Haliburton is big, he's long, he's smart, and if he's competing like that, he's just got to make things difficult. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we can't attack Haliburton the way we thought. Can't really go at Nembhard. Can't go at Siakam. Maybe we start trying to dance with Miles Turner on the perimeter, but you still, the Pacers have gotten really good at covering that up that action. You can't go at Naismith, obviously. He's like their defensive guy. I don't know. It gets a little bit tougher until you kind of get into the benches.
Game 2, I have very high hopes for just a fucking awesome game of basketball. Can't wait.
Yeah, this one, again, the overreaction thing. Do we have a spread on game 2 yet?
Ooh, let's look. I'm looking right now. Let's pull back up the app. Yes, we do. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Cavs are 9.5-point favorites on the spread.
Wow. Okay. I was going to say
minus 400 to win. I'm on. The Pacers are covering that. Pacers, whether they win or lose,
I was actually saying
they're covering
I wouldn't be shocked if it was Cavs by 10, and so that's right there.
Yeah, I just think
teams tend to just bounce back, and like I said, Indiana already accomplished the mission. And I do think we might be overreacting a little bit to this injury report. If Hunter and Mobley are just fine.
Yeah.
Like this report that Mobley and Donovan Mitchell were limping in the locker room after. I'm like, it's the playoffs. Like everybody's limping in the locker room after. I don't know what to tell you. But
a Donovan Mitchell 45-point classic just feels like right there waiting just to happen.
If you get regression into the mean on both sides from 3-point range,
Cavs Cavs win by 6.
Yeah, so we're already getting closer there. So, it'll be really interesting.
All right, can't wait. Very excited. Let's go to the Nuggets, Thunder. Really great Nuggets win for them to win Game 7. Clippers did not show up. I don't want to bag on the Clippers as much because I think everyone's kind of doing that. But I think, Wes, what that game reminded me and I think emphasized for me is that the Nuggets have to have all those guys play kind of almost to the level they did in that game for them to have a shot against OKC. And they can't just do it. They have to do that 4 times, I think. That scares me if I am the Nuggets, if I'm their fans, if I'm trying to win this series and envision a future where they knock off OKC here. particularly considering OKC is going to be rested. They're going to have home court advantage. I think that this is a really, really big uphill climb for Denver here. As good as Jokic is, all of that. I think this is kind of the series. I think also why they got Hartenstein, right? It's like now Chet can just roam off of Gordon, and they have Hartenstein and Jokic, and it's like everything is going to be mucked up here by OKC. Their demonic defense is showing up, I think, in full here. Can't wait for it either, just because Jokic is going to do some awesome stuff, and they're going to still find a way to be good. But I think that level, they're going to have everyone clicking in the same way to win 4 out of 7 here is going to be really, really, really tough.
Yeah, I want to start with the Jokic piece because that's the thing. If you have any hope for Denver, it's just because you believe in Jokic. And you believe in him so much that despite the fact that Shea's probably going to win MVP, while this series is happening, by the way, that Jokic is just that much better and he's just going to go off and that the Thunder won't have any answers for him. So Jokic against OKC this season has been okay, 25, 16, and 12. His shooting efficiency was a little bit lower than normal, but based on the 4-game sample, you're right about the reason why they added Isaiah Hartenstein. That was a big reason. Plus, you want to shore up the defensive rebounding, which hasn't exactly happened, but that was a big reason. You've got Hartenstein and Chet kind of doing the Cat Gobert thing. It didn't super work in the regular season. I don't know that that's what Chet is good at yet. I think he looks like that roaming shot blocker kind of guy.
He has the exact frame that you think that is his superpower because he's long and lanky as hell and really skinny.
Right. But it hasn't really materialized into that because Gordon is just so thick and strong that he kind of pushes him around anyway. And even defensively, Gordon will still outleap Chet or kind of box Chet out and go get those offensive rebounds, which happened multiple times. Chet, and there's a lot of it's like a QB spy linebacker thing. That's a very specific thing that you got to get good at. You've got to be able to read a lot of things. Not only what Jokic is doing. It's not as simple as, oh my God, Jokic, he made a second dribble, hit Hartenstein, did the thing that Jokic does where he feels which way the guy is leaning on his back and then spins the other way and then kind of gets a little bit of a lane. And then Chet's only job isn't to just, when that happens, rush over to try to contest the shot, which again is harder than it looks, even if you're prepared for it. But while all that is happening, you can't get cut backdoor, right? You can't be, even if you're playing off of Gordon. Gordon's an awesome cutter. Jokic is going to be prepared for those backdoor lobs. It's a harder position than I think people give it credit for. And Chet hasn't exactly figured it out yet to the same degree that Cat and Gobert had it figured out. And by the way, that's a big reason why Gobert was the roamer and Cat was the guy bodying up Jokic, because you could argue the guy actually defending Jokic has the easier job than the roamer. And we all know what Gobert can do defensively.
Yeah, and it's because I think when you're defending the man directly, it is you just have a very specific thing, which is do not let him get by you. Use your arms, be physical, bump him, but your job is to deny him a clean look at the basket and eat up his space. If you're the roamer, you're not only marking the guy you're really worried about, which is the passer in this case, in Jokic, but the cutter from the corner, shooters around. You probably also have I would assume having responsibilities to call stuff out. If you're roaming, you kind of have to be the defensive free safety and call things out. That's a lot of responsibility. As good as talented as Chet is, that is a huge responsibility. Yep. And to not only is that hard against average, an average guy in the situation, but this is the greatest dissector creative passer.
If you're leaning wrong or you've got a half step, in the paint when you shouldn't.
Yes,
he's gonna find the open guy. He's gonna make the right read. To your point, so
yeah,
it's tough. That said, going back to Jokic, he averaged 40 minutes per game in the first round.
Yeah,
he's got a 48-hour turnaround for game 1, and he's probably going to have to average more than 40 minutes for Denver to have any chance against OKC.
Yeah. Because
the Thunder are so deep and they can always put Chet or Hartenstein on the court that when Jokic is off the court, they are going to bleed points against this. This Thunder team comes in waves. Almost literally, it feels they are so good all the time where if Denver just bleeds for 3 or 4 straight minutes, the game could be over, right? Like the Thunder, the way that they get those steals and scores and how quickly it happens, I mean, they could go on a 10-0, 12-0 run within 3 minutes, and then the game's over.
Yeah.
So that's to me the biggest thing is, unless Denver somehow, they're probably going to lose game 1 just based on how things are.
Yep.
The short turnaround, OKC rested. The record is what it is for teams in that position. It's not good. Can they win game 2? Because it feels like they have to get one of these early games and create a little bit of a handicap for themselves, because I think as this season goes on, or as the series goes on, rather, I don't know, like, can Jokic really hold up after what he did in the first round and what he did in all regular season too? I mean, he's never had a workload like this.
Series line, Thunder minus 800, Nuggets plus 550.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Nuggets are 10.5-point underdogs for game 1, plus 375 on the money line, which feels right. I mean, this feels like a sizable favorite situation for OKC. I mean, you mentioned like waves. It's just like the 8 guys they played real minutes, like almost 9 if you count Isaiah Joe's, like 14. Like Chet 29, J-Dub 38, Hardenstein 25, SGA 38, Dort 28, Joe 14, Caruso 26, Wiggins 15, and Kaysen Wallace 21. That's game 4, against the Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2.5 more guys I feel really good about than what Denver is going to be throwing out.
Yep.
Like the Nugget on a good night, it feels like Nuggets have like maybe 6 guys right now.
OKC can, if OKC plays Denver starters to a draw, they win the series.
Yeah.
Right? Because the bench is going to win. Like their bench is just, they're so much deeper. And it just feels like the Thunder have so many ways to win this series, right? Like OKC should win this series. You mentioned the odds on 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. Like this feels like OKC in 5 almost.
Yeah.
And if they don't win, it'll be the same reason they lost last year. 3-point shooting. That's why they lost to Dallas, is they couldn't hit a 3.
3-point shooting, I think, specifically generated by like a singular force that like just pulls all their gravity. Like it's like that specific formula. But obviously very different. This is going to be in more like Jokic obviously does everything, but it's different than Luka, where it's like iso ball, finds his own shot, kind of in that way. This is going to look different if it works out that way. Like it will be a different kind of dissection.
Well, and the thing about the Thunder too is they're a good 3-point shooting team. They don't have any elite 3-point shooters. Even Isaiah Joe, he's the closest they have to a knockdown movement shooter. I love Isaiah Joe. I don't think if you're Denver, you're like, we can't let Isaiah Joe beat us. It's like, okay, if that guy gets off, like he gets off. I don't know. He's not like the highest volume guy, mostly because of the minutes, but whatever. Even if it's just you put Isaiah Joe on the side, like these are a lot of standstill shooters, catch and shoot guys that you're not super worried about. And we saw the Thunder kind of go cold from 3-point range last playoffs against Dallas. And then you saw Dallas have these huge performances from guys like PJ Washington and Kyrie Irving and across the board. And Denver's not a great 3-point shooting team in terms of volume, but they make a lot of their threes. And Oklahoma City makes up for it with a higher amount of a higher volume, and they make an average amount of their threes. But if Denver can get this game to be played more in the paint, that's where they're able to start getting this to be a little bit more even. So, yeah, as long as the Thunder basically don't go ice cold from 3-point range, they should be fine. I'm just saying, like, if I'm trying to imagine a world where they lose, and it's because they shot like 27% for the series from 3-point range, just like something absolutely crazy.
This is like Dort, for instance. If Dort's like a 2 of 9 or 2 of 7 guy most of the series, and this is also a series where what he's really great at, like it's not necessarily like the biggest thing in the series. Even him defending Murray, I think we'll see a lot. It's not like he is like that kind of role player that they have isn't going to eat up the series in that specific way. The other thing can I shout out? What's up?
No, go ahead.
Christian Brown, I think, is also like the nugget that if he's almost my bellwether. Like Murray is the obvious bellwether if you're talking about non-Jokic players.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Brown is going to need to probably play. He played 40 minutes a game in the first series. I think he's probably going to need to match SGA's minutes for like most of the series.
Yeah.
Christian Brown has to be an absolute demon on defense if the Nuggets have a chance in hell in this series. He has to just like absolutely have the defensive performance of his life defending SGA.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, and if SGA has like breaks through in big ways and is his usual uber efficient self and just dissects Christian Brown, there's nothing that Denver can really throw back at SGA that would make that it feels like a reasonable second option other than Christian Brown is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because that's where I wanted to go next. The Christian Brown part of this. SGA versus Denver this season, 36-5. 30 points, 6 assists,
good?
5 rebounds. Yep.
Okay.
Good shooting efficiencies. Like the percentages are all good. Christian Brown has been the main assignment. He's really the only guy. Maybe you can throw an Aaron Gordon at him every once in a while. Maybe there's Peyton Watson minutes as you get into your rotation, but it's Christian Brown who spent, at least in the regular season, he was 90% the defender on SGA because Michael Malone at the time did exactly what we were talking about. We're going to align our minutes, Brown's minutes with Shea's. So that's probably the right way to go. He didn't have much success, obviously. But the other thing, too, is SGA is going to pull Jokic into those actions. And Jokic, as we know, wants to jump out, get to the level of the screen, and try to force the ball out of the ball handler's hands, in this case, SGA. SGA is that slithery, slippery kind of play. He doesn't care. He'll be like, oh, okay, you jumped out a half step the wrong way. Next thing you know, like my elbows are sliding between you and the defender, and now I'm at the basket. Like he's just too slippery to do that, and I think that's why Denver has a really hard time defending him. My X factor in this series is Aaron Gordon. Because of what we were talking about before. If Chet is going to roam off of him to start these games, then Gordon has to hit those corner threes. And he's a pretty streaky corner three-point shooter, but he's been mostly good this year. If he's hitting those corner threes consistently, then you end up with a PJ Washington scenario again, where OKC might overreact to it. And can they even afford to double Jokic at that point? Does Mark Daigneault say, you know what, we'll live with the Aaron Gordon threes? I think he would probably do the latter. But if you're willing to live with the Aaron Gordon threes and he just makes them, for 4 out of these 7 games potentially, then that, I don't know, that could swing a few games. I don't know, but he seems to me to be the X factor. Plus with the lobs and the stuff like that, and then what he can do defensively on the boards, despite the size disadvantage, he just has a strength advantage that I think could play a factor in this.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout as well. On just a sentimental note, I'm excited just to see Russ back in OKC in a playoff setting for the first time since 2019.
And it's been such a great playoff for him, so he's walking into OKC feeling pretty good about himself. Like this game 1 should be really interesting, at least from the pomp and circumstance part of it.
Yeah, I mean, he was really, really vital to them winning in Game 7, I thought. And like him beating the team that kind of just jettisoned him away in the Clippers, and then he's getting to go back to the place where I think in a lot of ways is like the defining player of the Thunder era. Like KD I think is obviously, we view him as the better all-time guy, but like post KD leaving, Russ is almost like I think the player I think of as the defining Oklahoma City Thunder player, right? Like I think that's the reality for me.
Yeah, and the way that fan base rallied around him when Durant left, I mean, there's still nothing but love, I think, in OKC for Russell Westbrook. So it'll be standing ovation, cheers, and then we'll see. He could also find the one guy in the crowd that just doesn't really care for him and get that guy thrown out of the game or something. I have no idea.
I think he's gonna invent like Jim Bob from Oklahoma City who just hates him. But
yeah, there'll be like a 7-year-old in the crowd who doesn't remember him, booing him during a free throw, and he'd be like, I can't believe that little girl didn't respect what I did in OKC. And the reporter would be like, well, she was 7. And he's like, there's still no excuse. I don't know what they're teaching in schools in OKC, but it's not the right thing. And then that'll be his bulletin board material.
Yeah, he finds that it's one of his superpowers. Let's go to Warriors.
Love you, Russ. Love you, Russ.
Love you, Russ. We need more like singular personalities like Russ, if I'm being honest. Like we're kind of missing like some person. I'm glad we've got the.
How many people can get away with calling themselves a force of nature?
I mean, it's kind of him, because if like LeBron did, I think we'd make fun of it at this point. You know what I mean?
or even just in life. Like I don't other sports.
Oh,
Like nobody else has. Like it's a combination of like gravitas, chutzpah, and not and not really caring if people make fun of you for it,
Yeah.
and obviously the credentials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
and
he's the
just, like,
MVP in a year where he averages triple double. Like those, he's got
Yeah.
credentials.
It's like the way he carries himself is like sort of the whole. It's like the
Like
whole
Harden
thing.
could never call himself a force of nature. It wouldn't work.
I saw a stat going around that Harden is like one of like 11 players ever to have like a certain number of seasons averaging over like 25 or something like that, and then it's like then you just look at his like playoff record and it's like, brother,
What's the opposite of a force of nature?
James Harden in important
Right.
games for his legacy.
Yeah, like I'm not a force of nature. I kind of just succumb to nature. Like I don't force nature upon anybody. I just whatever happens, I just kind of that's what happens to me.
It's James Harden.
That's James Harden.
It's not
yeah.
Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards could probably get away with calling himself a force of nature.
He could, but even when he would do it, it would sound like a joke.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the Russ thing. It's like
He was so serious. Who could do it seriously? Could Barack Obama do it? No. Like I'm just trying to think of like who we generally think of as impressive people.
Like maybe like if like prime Mike Tyson did it.
He could do it.
Like it's like
Rare air.
It's
Rare
gotta be,
air.
It's if Caitlin Clark did it, I would also be like, this
No,
is true, but
can't do it.
but it's not. It wouldn't be serious because she's
Right.
kind of affable, right? Like you,
Right, and it's
you have
one
to be
rookie
like-
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Probably like Kobe's the last basketball player that I probably would have believed that he believed it and could have said it with like any kind of
Kobe.
like
Yeah.
like that. Is that the last player before this that you would be like, yeah, that's kind of a guy who.
Kobe could have done it. I don't like Aaron Judge can't do it, even if he's right. Couldn't really do it. Tiger would have never done it. Jordan, that's pre-Kobe, but still. Like could Steve Jobs have done it? Maybe.
I think a bit going to the business executive world is like the right call.
Is this good radio? I don't know.
I to me it is because I'm now like thinking about like who can actually like it is just such a unique thing. It's like my brain went to Tyson because it's like a fighter thing because you just literally like
Tyson was a great call.
because you wreck people. It's like if Prime John Jones had said it, I'd be like, you're being corny and weird about this.
Yeah, even if like Jake Paul or Logan Paul or whichever one does the thing and the stuff,
Get it out of no, they're not neither.
you would get the eye roll, right?
Yeah.
Like no, like the reason I
I'm
brought this up
ashamed-
is Russell Westbrook said that, and then it got aggregated in all those like quote graphics with like the emoji with the steam coming out of the nose, and I'm like, this is an insane thing for somebody to say about themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who could do it? Like a musician,
Yeah. Well, here's the Russ thing though.
like Motley Crue.
I didn't think you were gonna go Motley Crue. That's a good pull. Kendrick Lamar in the Drake beef was a force of nature.
Yeah, see, Drake would say I'm a force of nature, and then everybody would roll their eyes at him.
Yeah.
Kendrick could probably do it.
Kendrick could do it.
Yeah, after the year he had.
do you remember
Taylor Swift could do it.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. Do you remember the Russ video though? Like this is actually maybe the best way to explain the Russ force of nature thing. Do you remember like the Lakers thing? And he posted the video of him in the car singing "You Won't Break My Soul,"
Mm-hmm.
and he was like just fucking bopping out, like just having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Only one person could have posted that video.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Russell Westbrook, and it not been seen as like the corniest thing ever, but yet that is like the proof of resiliency in Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
That's
Good
force
way
of
to wrap
na-
up the
that's-
conversation.
That's force of nature shit. For
Yeah,
Russell
that is.
Westbrook. Yeah,
Yep.
if I did that, I'd be like, is Chris having a mental breakdown? The answer would be yes. All right, Warriors Wolves. I did not come away, Wes, from watching Warriors Rockets and think that I feel particularly optimistic about the Warriors beating Minnesota. I do not. It is like just such a ultimately, the Rockets did kind of where the thing we kind of thought they might be coming to the playoffs, which is not being able to score enough points at a consistent enough level to win a playoff series. There's a reason everyone is like doing fake trades with Jalen Green after that Game 7. Wolves are gonna have some of those same elements and have Anthony Edwards who can score the basketball better than levels above this. I think the Wolves. I haven't looked at the line yet. I kind of think, to me, in my head, the Wolves are pretty sizable favorites in this series. Might be wrong. I've been clearly wrong already, but yeah. So the Wolves are only minus 180. I would pick the Wolves. I think is like I would have them a little bit as more favorites in my head than that.
I actually a little surprised that BetMGM and Vegas has them such heavy favorites, just because you'd expect a lot of public money to go Golden State's way. But yeah, coming out of that Warriors Rockets series, does anybody feel awesome about the Warriors? Like, do you feel like the Warriors won that series because they're a great basketball team?
No,
Nobody does,
no,
right?
it
It's
felt
more
like
of wow, the Rockets really can't get a bucket.
Yeah, and the Warriors like just still have the know-how and like some of the veteran. So then like even that Steph game, like Steph was really kind of tough in the first half, had to be really great in the second half. Like they got a huge Buddy Hield game, good Jimmy Butler game as far as like a 28-7 night. It just felt like they kind of knew what to do to get themselves through it, and that was enough.
Yeah.
Again, after particularly two bad performances when they had an opportunity to close it out before, including one at home, which tells you something about what they are.
Yeah, if Buddy Hield doesn't have the game of his life, we're talking about Rockets Wolves right now.
Yes.
Yeah, the Warriors win that series. Nobody feels better about the Warriors after that series. And then the Timberwolves beat the Lakers, and everybody's like, yeah, we definitely underestimated the Timberwolves. This is a really this is a 6-7 series in the second round. This is we never see this. It's pretty crazy. And that's why I think the betting odds are a little wonky right now, but they should favor Minnesota. I guess I'm a little surprised by how much they favor Minnesota, considering that it's a 6-7. But look, at the end of the day, I think the Timberwolves just have too many things that are going to cause problems for Golden State. We saw some of those things against the Rockets in terms of the size advantage. The Warriors allowed 13.4 offensive rebounds per game in that series. Minnesota is going to do that unless the Warriors can figure out a way to play Rudy Gobert off the court, which they used to be able to do. They haven't really been able to do that recently. Draymond Green just is not what he was athletically, in his heyday. And they don't have the shooting that you're worried about. So, to me, I think this series starts with Rudy Gobert and who he's defending. And you're probably not going to have him guarding Draymond because you don't want him to get involved in the Draymond-Steph two-man game. I don't know what the Warriors do. Do they start Looney? And then that makes it, okay, Gobert just defends Looney. No big deal. Or do they start small with Draymond at the 5, as they've been doing basically since the Butler trade? And then we saw what Houston did with Şengün. They had him guarding pods, and he would just sag off of pods and cover ground. And I think that's what, if the Warriors start with that starting 5 with pods, or Gary Payton II, who could be back from food poisoning or whatever, they could just go Gobert on one of those guys and have him sag off and then clog the lane and then do all the Gobert things, which I think would be a very big problem for the Warriors, because if he's getting those offensive boards and he's going full Godzilla mode like he did against the Lakers in that last game, that's just such an advantage. And then what Minnesota has that Houston didn't have is a guy like Anthony Edwards who could put the ball in the basket. And that might just be it.
Yeah, if you're looking at how this ended and you're prognosticating a little bit, if it's a game 7, Anthony Edwards is not going 3 of 8 in 30 minutes and scoring 8 points.
Probably not. No, but Ant will have a couple of stinkers in this series, probably.
He's gonna have at least like one in Golden State when Golden State has like a crazy good defensive performance against him.
But then again, like, who do they have? Like, are they gonna? I think they put Jimmy Butler. Did they put Jimmy Butler on Ant?
I kind of think if his stomach is feeling better, I think Peyton might start just to throw like that pesky.
But then you end up with that problem.
Yeah, but I think they might start there, and then I think
Yeah.
you then throw Jimmy at him, maybe in crunch time if it goes a certain way. You maybe try Moody on him as well. I think you're going to see like a bunch of guys, and I mean, if Kuminga plays 7 minutes in the game, I think all 7 might be him out there defending Ant.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this, and we should have mentioned this before, obviously these teams have played. All their games were over by the end of January. So none of these games were played with Jimmy Butler. And the Warriors are obviously a completely different team with Jimmy Butler. So that's why we're kind of talking through these matchups, because we just haven't seen it with Jimmy Butler Warriors versus this Timberwolves team. But yeah, look, the one thing we do know is Steve Kerr will switch his starting five probably 3 or 4 times, like 2 or 3 times during this series, depending on how long it goes. Like he will change it. And that to me was, again, very alarming. Steve Kerr has no idea who he's going to start or he's going to close with, basically on a night-to-night basis, whereas the Timberwolves just have a very clear identity of what they're going to do. Their closing lineups can change a little bit depending on, is it DiVincenzo, is it Randall, is it Conley, like who's kind of got it going, is it Naz Reid? But they generally know what they want to be doing, where the Warriors just don't. I don't know. I think the X factor in this series to me is just the Warriors role players.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are a big three in that they're Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. But despite the fact that they have that quote unquote big three, Draymond's just not an offensive factor in terms of scoring the ball, at least. And Jimmy Butler, I don't know, like he's just not. We haven't seen play. Everybody wants to say, oh, it's playoff Jimmy. It's playoff Jimmy. I'm like, I haven't really seen playoff Jimmy yet. Have you? Hasn't felt like it. The guy plays a couple of, like, just playing good defense and scoring 20 plus points. That's not playoff Jimmy. That's just Jimmy. So, I haven't seen it yet. And like I said, without that big Buddy Hield game, every game that that the Warriors won in the playoffs, it was either a big Pods or a big Gary Payton or a big Buddy Hield game. Like they were getting contributions from somebody else, and they need that somebody else to step up to win playoff games. And that's the big, and so that's why I kind of go just quote unquote role players for Golden State as my X factor in this.
Julius Randle's my X factor.
Great call.
Because he was so good in round one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a world where he has a really hard time in the series. There's a world where he has a really great series. I can be convinced of either. I don't really know what Golden State will do and how they'll defend him with Jimmy and with Draymond. Like, I could see Jimmy on him for stretches. Draymond, you kind of, I don't know if you want to use Draymond necessarily defending him, but I think there's going to be times where he defends him, and I trust Draymond to kind of do some really great shit in that matchup and frustrate Randall. The downhill secondary pressure release foul scoring the Wolves got from Randall in round one was huge. It's a that bet and why with the catch rate has worked out for round one. It's a different calculus here. It's going to be a team that I think will maybe just be a little more equipped to deal with Randall, I would think, based on their personnel. Mm-hmm. If he struggles, where the Wolves find that secondary offense and who else they can turn to, I think becomes a pretty sizable question.
It's a great call, and that's where you get the Rudy Gobert offensive rebounds part of it. And that kind of opens up another queasy question of, oh my God, are we counting on Rudy Gobert for our secondary offense? That doesn't sound awesome if you're a Timberwolves fan.
Over under 2.5 shoving like skirmishes of some kind, verbal or otherwise, between Draymond and Rudy Gobert.
Well, that's the other thing. Draymond's getting pretty close to getting suspended here with everything he racked up in that first round. I think he's a flagrant 2 away from a suspension. I think I have that right.
I'll check this as you're talking.
Yeah, I think it's 2 flagrant 1s away and 1 flagrant 2 away from a suspension. And there's quite a few. He's got like a handful of technicals that he still needs to get. But like Draymond could pick up 2 technicals in a half. I think he's like 4 techs away. I think if I got all that math right, from having to serve a suspension.
So Anthony Slater had this tweet. If the Warriors, this is before Game 7. If the Warriors advance, the Draymond Green flagrant point total could become a topic. He's now accumulated 2 in the series, 4 in the playoffs, triggers a 1-game suspension. So if he gets a flagrant 2,
that's it. Suspended.
Or if he gets 2 flagrant 1s.
Right, correct. So and then if you get 4 technicals, I think that's right. So basically, Draymond's teetering here against his arch nemesis, a guy who he once put in a chokehold.
Which, and like you would know this better than me, covering the Warriors up close when you did, Wes. The thing with Draymond is you kind of want him teetering a little bit. Like peak Draymond is him teetering a little bit on the point of insanity.
Especially now when the athleticism just isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
He kind of needs to be there now. Slater did write a nice story about how Draymond was like doing yoga and meditating before Game 7 because he got a little too heated in Game 6.
I would love to be able to like read Draymond Green's thoughts while he's meditating because I can't even picture that guy like meditating.
Stupid meditation. I don't know.
Fuck this. Just like punching it in his head, you know? It's like just fighting it.
But if they lose Draymond for a game, I mean that could be it. They'll lose that game.
Yeah.
And then, a game can make a series.
And like, look, Draymond he has cost his team literally a series before because of his antics. Like, it's not like this is unprecedented. Like, 2016 Finals probably doesn't become a 3-1 Cavs win if Draymond Green doesn't kick LeBron in the nuts.
Just
after
random
kicking guys
call
in
out,
the nuts throughout the playoffs.
2 random call-outs. Dante DiVincenzo revenge game potential? Yeah. I don't know. He did leave on his own accord because he wanted to join his Villanova buddies in New York, but players find bulletin board material wherever they can get it.
Kind of generally forget that he played a whole year in Golden State, if I'm being. I just like black that out of my head.
And then Steph, he plays well against Minnesota, has this year. He's averaging like 30 points, I think, against Minnesota. Jaden McDaniels has been the main guy on him. And McDaniels does an okay job, but after McDaniels, they just really don't have anybody. Is this a Nickeil Alexander-Walker series where they try him a little bit more? But I only bring this up because Minnesota's defense just isn't where Houston's defense is, and they don't have guys like Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, who just do such a good job chasing. Like, those are some of the premier chase defenders in the league, and Minnesota doesn't really have those guys. Like, Conley obviously is not that guy. DiVincenzo is solid, but he's not that guy. Even McDaniels isn't. That's not his kind of defense, right? So just something to watch for. Like just because Minnesota's defense is pretty good, they're not going to limit Steph the way that Houston did. And if Steph just has this banana series, then maybe that's it, and that's how the Warriors can win some of these games. So the math is a little bit different in this one.
I'm leaning Wolves.
I am too.
Excited. Well, and on this, Wes, we can do 2 minutes of this to get out of here. I just want to just ask, like, Will Hardy getting extended. Not only is did he get extended, he got extended for 6 years, which is going to take him almost up through like not even just the next presidential cycle, but the one after that. He's 3 years as the head coach of the Jazz. Has had his team's win total go down every year. That's again sort of not really necessarily a reflection of him because the Jazz have been so aggressively bad and bottoming out the last couple of years. I just feel like giving like a multi-year extension that takes you through a long period of time when I don't even have any idea how to gauge how good of a coach is when you're on this bad of a team. I just can't really wrap my mind around this. Like, it does not totally compute to me when we see a guy. The Jazz must just like love him for them to do this, but from the outside,
and hoping that he doesn't get scooped up by one of these other teams potentially looking for a head coach. I'm with you, Chris. I can't figure it out. I have no idea what the urgency is. I know we just praised the Spurs for stability and stuff like that. That's Greg Popovich, dude. It's different. Will Hardy, I know he draws a sick ATO, but there is so much more to coaching than that. And I think this is sort of the Brad Stevens effect on how we think of coaches. It's, oh my God, look at this sidelines out of bounds play he called, like, that he drew up. What a freaking genius. And I'm like, people don't realize that is half a percentage point of what NBA coaching really is.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more involved. And I'm not saying Will Hardy's a bad coach. I don't think he deserves this either. He goes 85 and 161 in his time in Utah. 35% win percentage. And Jazz fans, they love Will Hardy. And I know people who are close to that team and they think the world of Will Hardy. And maybe they know more than I do because they're actually close to it or whatever.
They probably do. Like, the reality is that coaching to me is one of those things that unless you like see some of it a ton up close, behind the closed doors of it is harder to gauge than a player.
100%.
But it's still just like we can go off what we see and like what the reality is, and it's just like I don't get.
It's also a results-based profession, and you can like the guy and you can think the world of this process, but if he's not getting results, then the guy gets fired. So I don't know. I don't get it. To me, he has not proven that he can win. Jazz fans will sit here and be like, well, look at the roster. and they keep trading away good players and they're rebuilding. And I say, yeah, but I also look at this roster and I say, name one player who has developed in a significant way under Will Hardy. And if your only answer is that Colin Sexton had a bounce back year last year, I don't know who has gotten better under him.
And it's not, and you acquired Colin Sexton, who like kind of had to find himself in Cleveland before you got him, right? Like, and Mark, like
The bar was low.
The bar was low, and Markin kind of regressed a little bit this year, which might be more about the team. But he hasn't turned, like Walker Kessler, I think our thoughts of him have regressed
Up and down
since he's come in. Like, and again, I think some of that can just be like an organizational situation where your team is, like, I think it is underratedly hard to stimulate growth in the NBA when teams are absolutely just kind of shrugging at the whole seasons and just punting on them. Like, if you're a player, what incentive do you have to really be invested in and bust your ass all the time? Like, what's
and
the
that's
point?
what I say. That's what I think happened with Markkanen this year. But at the same time, that's on the coaches to get that. I don't know. This was really the first year where they have completely bottomed out from the very beginning of the year. So this will most likely, as long as they don't get screwed in the lottery, this will be their best pick.
Yeah.
Since Hardy took over.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth saying, hey, we've kind of seen it through this long with this guy. We want to build something, and continuity is a big part of that. And everything that whatever foundation Will Hardy has built, we don't want to lose that. We don't want to just have lost the 3 years we already kind of lost. So let's go ahead and get this guy under contract. 6 years, to your point, though, Chris. That just seems like a lot. I'm not advocating you got to fire Will Hardy because the team is not winning games, because again, that's not his fault necessarily, but. The timing of all of it just sounds weird. But then again, the timing of coaching decisions in the NBA has just been weird the entire time. So what do we know?
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is just like there are really good coaches historically. Like, don't even like coaches who we know are really really good don't get these kind of extensions.
Right.
Don't like end up staying as long. Like, I think back to like 2018 Cleveland. Ty Lue, obviously LeBron has left. Like, this is like the first year after LeBron, 2018-19 season. LeBron has left. Ty might have just not wanted to stay. Had a contract situation, I think, as well. Ends up like leaving earlier into that season. That's the kind of coach, though, that if I'm like ownership, that's the kind of coach I'm like, would you like a ton of money to stay here for the next 6-7 years and like be the shepherd of our program? The coaches they get that are like Ty Lue with the Clippers now, Spo, Kerr, like Carlisle in Indiana and Dallas before that, and like it seems like Mazzulla might have a chance to do that in Boston.
I think you just nailed it, though. Ownership loves Will Hardy. They love him.
But
That's
like,
it.
There's a
You're part of the
point-
club. You're part of the club, Will. Hang out in Salt Lake City. Yeah.
But if in 2 years this is not better, you've also then and you have to fire him in 2027 and pay him out for 4 years. Like, what are you doing? I think this is just you could love him, and I think this is bad process. You did not need to give him 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
6 years is just a long fucking time in the NBA.
It is.
On that note, God damn it, Utah Jazz. Wes, did you catch Dwayne Wade on SNL this weekend?
I did, and you know what? I rewatched SNL on Sunday because I was watching basketball Saturday night, and then I went to bed. Was not aware that he made the cameo prior to me rewatching it. It was a nice little surprise for me. I somehow avoided that. So yeah, shout out to Dwayne Wade, Amazon's own Dwayne Wade.
Do you also just like love the idea that they made a whole bit about how 6'4" is short in the NBA when in reality
I did like that.
Like, I'm like, you know what, this is actually pretty good.
Yep.
And he's like 1.5 feet taller than Sabrina Carpenter, I think.
Sabrina Carpenter is 5'1". He's 6'4".
Yeah.
Yeah. Love Dwayne Wade.
Shout out to
Need
Dwayne
him more.
Wade, though, a
Yeah.
legend.
Nice little panel that they put together. They got D Wade, Udonis Haslam, Candace Parker, and Steve Nash on the Amazon panel. That's a banger lineup.
It's really, really good. Getting UD away from ESPN while ESPN is trying out like Marcus Morris, who's basically just and Carlos Boozer
Stolen.
is. It's like what is
Stolen.
going on? What is going on here?
Yep.
Amazon's doing good stuff there. All right, Chris
Shout out.
Manning, Wes Goldberg, back later this week as these playoff series develop. Tune in, enjoy the hoops. Talk to you soon.